And we're spinning. All right, so today's class is about buyer consultation. And I can tell you from teaching this for many, many years that even if you've been in the business for quite a while, you can get tips from it. It's, something that I am very passionate about doing a proper buyer consultation, and you'll kind of understand why once I take you through everything. You all are welcome to interject and ask questions. I'm totally fine with interaction, so I encourage you to participate. And this is interactive, so step in, ask questions, jump in, and let's collaborate as we go through this. A little bit about me. I've been in the business. I actually need to update this because now I've been in Florida for 20 years. I got my real estate license back in the late 90s. Worked with a partner in Destin, Florida, was very successful there, and then came to Orlando, and I was a regional vice president with Land America Financial Group. And I've managed 3 brokerages, so I've helped in supporting sales, and I went back to selling full-time myself last September, October range, around in there. I still have a handful of mentees, and I still offer a bit of coaching and training when needed if anybody needs support. I seem to be a good go-to person. Some of the lenders call me too, just because of the fact of being a broker and managing 3 offices. I tend to know a little bit about a whole lot of stuff, so makes it kind of fun for me. But I love being on our real estate team, the Funk Collection, because of the collaboration, because we are constantly dealing with new things that keep coming up in our industry. So it's been crazy lately. I'm sure you guys have all been experiencing the amount of buyers that we've had coming into the market. I kind of refer to it as the wild, wild west. So it's always great to have a lot of people that you can collaborate with this ever-changing market. All right, so what we're going to do is jump into buyer consultation here. I've got to find a way really quick to minimize everybody's photo that's coming up because I can't see my screen. Oh boy. Okay, let me just see if I can get through it because you guys are off to the right and I can't see all the wording. So, all right, so what we're going to talk about with buyer consultation is, why is a buyer consultation so important? Conducting a needs analysis the right way, educating your buyers, service expectations and identifying needs, the buyer-broker agreement, and preparing to show. So does anybody here know why a buyer consultation is so incredibly important? You can unmute.
Managing expectations of the experience.
Yep. Anything else?
Creating
You
some
also provide your value by listening to them. We need to be cognizant of the fact that people have so much more in terms of self-service options now. So by asking them the right questions and getting to know who they are and what they are looking for, we can better provide service than just AI.
I think branching off of that, building the relationship with that individual, because I think building relationships is key, in any industry, especially this one. So,
okay. Has anybody ever heard a realtor say, and I don't know how long everybody here has been in the business, but I've heard realtors say buyers are liars. Has anybody ever heard that before?
Yep. I hate that.
I do too.
Please don't ever use that phrase.
I think that it is the most insulting thing that a realtor could ever say about our wonderful buyers. Because, so often, and I'll share stories as we go through here. I've had buyers, one that I always use, Vicki probably would laugh that she knew that I used this as an example, but she was like, Gretchen, we do not want to renovate another kitchen. I don't want to be on the water. We want something that's been updated, that's not on the water. Well, we looked and we looked and we looked at those homes, and then all of a sudden this home came available, and it had a great screened-in pool, and it was on a nice sized pond, and it did need, it did have an opportunity for some renovation updates. And what house did they buy? The house that could use the kitchen renovation on the water. And it was just an amazing house that came open. It was like, I said, you just really need to look at this. It's got a great layout, and they fell in love with it and they bought it. It's still there. And I just saw her recently when I did a pop by. And It's just sometimes I think that they envision what they want, but it's our job to educate them and our job to show them other opportunities that they may not have thought about. And that's where, when we take everything that we do here in this buyer consultation and we expand upon it and introduce them to some other things that maybe they didn't know exist or know that they could obtain within the budget that they want to stay in. So always keep that in mind. It's always good to kind of take them a little bit out of their box, as long as you're still hitting on your must-haves, which again, we're going to talk about that too. All right, everybody, do the consultation right and you will close more buyers in less time. Skip it and you will spend more time and money and close fewer transactions. You have to really get into the mind of your buyer and understand what they're looking for in order to be more productive with their time and your own time. So what we're going to do is you're going to start your consultation and you're going to make it a dialogue. And this can be done in person or over the telephone with somebody. Now that we're doing so much with, the COVID situation, you can set up a Zoom call. You can set up a FaceTime call. You can just have a regular phone conversation, or you can still do it in person. But you want to make it a dialogue and a conversation with them. And one of the beginning things that you always want to start with is, have you started a conversation with a lender yet? That is crucial. And the reason that it is so important is because I don't want to go show them a $500,000 house, have them see all the bells and whistles that comes at, that price opportunity, and then them say, we really don't want to spend more than this per month, and so we really need to stay under 400. It's very hard for them to revert back to the difference in that $100,000 price point. So keep that in mind. It's really, really important. You also need to make sure that they're ready to go. I've had so many people that are like, I want to go see this house. I want to go see this house, to find out they're just not quite ready yet. So, our time is very valuable. We're all very busy, productive realtors, and we do have to protect our time and also protect their expectations. You want to be very specific with them about everything. And we're going to talk more and more about that. What about that is important to you? And always asking, what else? What else? What else is important? So let's go back to, what about that is important to you? So let's say you have somebody that says, I want a big backyard. Well, what about having a big backyard is important to you? Anybody want to role play with me? Come on, Catherine, you're not shy.
Nope, I'm not. I was going to unmute. So here we go. Sure.
What's important about a big backyard to you, Catherine?
Oh, I just don't want to have people close by, and, my kids want somewhere to run around, and I have a dog.
Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about what that big backyard looks to you. Do you, you say you want the room for the dog to run around. How big is your dog?
I have an 80-pound Xolo.
Okay, so
very energetic and needs a fence.
Okay, so you need a fence. Now, if we were to find the perfect home for you that didn't have the fence, but had, plenty of room for you to be able to install that fence, but everything on your must-haves really meet this home, would you be open to installing a fence after closing?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. So that way we can, explore homes that don't have fences, just so we don't rule them out. All right. What else do you like to do in your backyard?
I like to entertain. I want to have a huge outdoor kitchen, and, a clay oven so I can bake bread and pizza outside.
Okay. So have you looked at dimensions or acreage? Do you have perspective to any of that you could reference in your experience in owning homes?
I think I've owned a home before that was just shy of an acre. It was basically a postage stamp. It didn't have trees except near the house and then on the lot line in the back. And that was ideal. If I could find something like that again here in Florida, where I can also have a pool, then that's my forever home.
Okay. And where did you own your prior home that you had this big backyard?
In Loudoun County, Virginia.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
So you guys, why that particular point is important is because here in Florida, we have different perceptions. We have people coming in from all over the country. When I say a big backyard, I'm from Ohio, so I'm a country girl. My big backyard is several acres. So that's why I live on 5 acres. I got as close to my big backyard that I could afford here in Florida. We have people coming from New Jersey, Connecticut, New York. Their big backyards are what we would probably maybe consider not even a backyard. So you've got to really understand what that means to them and what their perception of a big backyard is. Sometimes you have people that want to have a garden. Well, how big of a garden? So you need to dig down in sometimes on certain items. Not everything, but some of them you need to know a little bit more about. This also gives you an opportunity to learn more about them. I've learned that Catherine owned a home in Virginia. I learned that she has a Sholo that's 80 pounds. I learned that she's got some boys because you can't ask people specifics about children and things of that nature. So I learned so much about her about talking about a backyard. So that, you know, really helps in your conversation and getting to know someone. So great job, Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now I'm going to have trouble because I can't see the screen. Hang on here. Bear with me. I got to figure out. Oh, here we go.
Gretchen, I'm recording. I can turn the record off if you want.
No, I just need to get my screen.
Upper right corner of your screen should be a view button.
I got it. Thanks, guys. I'm a little computer challenged some days. All right, what to say? So thank you for taking the time today. You want to smile and be warm. You know, people want to engage with you. And when you smile, your voice tonality changes. So it's so important to smile and be excited about really talking to them about what they're looking for in a house. So we are going to explore what is the right home for you. I will ask you questions to help you understand exactly what you're looking for in a home. My goal is to give you the best experience and provide excellent service. My business is based on referrals. So when I provide you with excellent service, you will want to refer all of your friends and family to me. Does that work for you? You guys, we're starting to train them right now for referrals. We're plugging right at the beginning because who here likes referrals? We all love referrals. Come on, Mark. I know you do too. Raise your hand, Mark. There he goes. All right, awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about now is the needs analysis. So I've taken some examples from my original class to talk about some of the things that I think that are important that you want to ask. And that is, how many bedrooms does your home have? Has anybody here experienced somebody saying that they want 4 bedrooms? So you write down they want 4 bedrooms and they want 3 bathrooms. Okay, awesome. Well, you know what? You will really limit the available homes that could possibly be perfect for them by not asking them, what will you be using your bedrooms for? So I had a couple, 2 people that wanted a 4 bedroom, and I said, what will you use your bedrooms for? And one of them was their master, the other was for a guest room, and the other 2 were for their projects. She's a big crafter and he wanted a home office. So I was able to look for 3 bedroom homes that had den offices, had bonus rooms and other things of that nature. So it's really important to dig in and really understand what it is about that bedrooms that they're looking for. How many bathrooms does your home have? You know, you're going to have situations where somebody, you know, says they want a 1-story home. And when you discuss that with them, why they want a 1-story, sometimes it's because they have an elderly parent that comes and visits. Well, would they be open to a 2-story or a home that had a loft or a bonus room above a garage if you were able to find a bedroom and bathroom that would act as a guest room for that elderly parent? So again, you're digging in and finding out what else. What is important to the layout to you? This is a great opportunity when you talk about layout to ask them, are you open to any renovations? Because we know the older homes are more segmented. They're not the big open floor plans that a lot of our buyers are wanting now. So I ask people, tell me a little bit about, the age of the home and layout that you're looking for. Are you open to any renovation? And if they say that they are, define that, guys. My idea of a renovation is tearing down walls. Their idea of a renovation may be new cabinets, carpet, and paint. So you need to understand what the level of the renovation is with them. Does your home have a pool? Are you open to putting a pool into the home if we found the perfect home? So you want to find out a little bit more about what they're willing to do if we were able to find that perfect home. If a prior homeowner, what were the favorite features in your last home? Because a lot of people are looking for things that are very different from what they had, or they're looking for things that...
I got a phone number that I was going to enter. Yeah, I got a different car. Yeah, man, you're good, dude.
Can everybody mute for me, please? Thank you. All right. Do you have any pets? Because this is such a great opportunity to find out, if they need that big yard for their show-lo. All right. So Renee, could you read the last line to me, please?
Which area would you like to live in?
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So find out, if they're from the area. That's when things can get a little tricky sometimes when they're brand new and they know nothing about the area. Then you start talking about their job. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to say one of my favorite questions that we use all the time we're in the Orlando market is, what drew you to consider the Orlando area for your next home? Opens up a whole great conversation along that line too.
Yep. You find out if they like Disney or they don't like Disney. Then you can find out a little bit about where their job is. Do they, want to commute, or school's important to them? So it just opens up so many opportunities to digging down and investigating more with them. All right, their lifestyle. So do you often have overnight guests? I don't know about the rest of you, but my husband, one of the first things he said is, just because we're moving to Florida doesn't mean that we're becoming everybody's hotel for them to come visit. He didn't want a guest room at all. Well, that didn't work with me because I love guests just because he doesn't. We're officially known as the Ritz Carlson now. So you want to find out about that because it's Florida, it's Disney. Everybody likes to come and visit. Will a Murphy bed work? Blow-up beds work. You got to kind of dig in. It is Florida. Do you have anything else special that you need to accommodate, such as athletic equipment, fine art, large furniture, large collections? Because there may be, things that are really important to them, but they don't tell you about it. So you got to dig in to find out those things. When people visit your home, what do you want your home to say about you? And, the other thing that I ask people, and I think I may have it in here, and that is I ask people, what is the most important room in the house to you? And had a buyer that the number one most important room to them that was a deal breaker was the master bedroom. Craziest thing. They said that's where they spend most of their time. Okay, just because what may be important to us isn't what is important to them. I see Renee laughing. So I'll have to tell you.
Tells a lot about a person, doesn't it?
It's a hoot, but you got to find out what's important to them, and what they like. So tell me about your ideal location. What is your maximum commute time and distance? It's amazing, but, some people want to be close to work. But then if you start exploring with them, if they're able to get to work in 30 minutes, what do they like? Find out what they like to do on the weekends and in the evenings. Sometimes they'll find that that's more important than the 30-minute commute and the tolls. So you kind of got to dig down in to determine those things. All right, somebody want to read number 4 to me?
What else is important about your location?
There you go. So again, these are just examples for you to dig down in, and have that conversation with your buyer. So in general, do you have a preference for when the house was built? You know, some of these you'll bring up at different times and you'll bring it up in conversation. One thing will lead into another, but ultimately you end up with covering everything you need to cover. If you are new to real estate, I highly recommend that you have built yourself a little buyer consultation checklist of things that you need to find out from them, because it can bite you in the butt if you don't really dig in with them. And what will happen? You will show more homes and you will sell less homes when you don't dig in. So do you want a house move-in ready, or are you willing to do some work? Dig deeper to determine how much work they want to commit to. Yes.
The year that the home was built preference is also, we've found over the years, can be dependent on the region, right? When you talked about the backyard analogy, different regions have different ages of homes. And I often find that when people are considering Orlando to purchase a home, they're surprised. If we say older home, we don't mean the same as someone who says older home in a different region.
Also,
Mine is in the 16, mine's like in the 1800s.
yeah.
Ours is like the 90s, Lisa.
Yeah.
The 1990s.
Yeah, and mine's almost brand new. So, you know, the other thing that people will ask that are not from the area is, you know, depending on where you're located, at least it looks like you're in Cape Cod. Beautiful area. You know, sometimes people are gonna ask about storms. They're gonna wanna know, you know, what type of storms come into that area? How is the house built when it comes to being able to withstand things that can happen in that region? So that's something that's really important to a lot of people. All right, sorry that Lisa, now I know you're from Cape Cod. I won't do all Florida references. You get the distance award today. All right, the structure. What type of home are you looking for? Single family, condo, townhome. Sometimes people are open to a single family or a townhome or a condo and townhome. Approximately what size house are you looking for? Square footage. But let me tell you something about that. Layout trumps square footage and the flow of the house. So keep that in mind. This is going back to what size yard somebody's looking for. You know, we kind of beat that one to death going into everything about that backyard, but I really wanted to use that as an example. Okay, what's number 4?
Is the garage, is a garage important to you?
Very good. Now,
Yes.
that's awesome. Yes. But, you know, depending on where you sell, you know, I've sold several homes in downtown Orlando, and sometimes you get a 1-car garage, or that 1-car garage has now been turned into a guest house. So you don't always have garages. If you're in the north, you know, with the snow and the storm, sometimes a garage and heated garages and, you know, the whole dynamics really change when it comes to the garage. So this is a very good opportunity for me to give an example to you all. Another story. I had a buyer that when we were doing their must-haves was a 3-car garage. It was a must-have. And it was high on the must-have list because the house they were selling had a 2-car. It wasn't enough. They were very passionate about it. So I have agents that say, Gretchen, what do you do when you have somebody call you and go, oh my gosh, I just passed this house at 123 Main Street and it is so cute and I want to see it. When can we go get into it? They're all excited because the curb appeal is just adorable and they've got to see this house. So you pull it up in MLS and you're like, oh, well, it's only got a 2-car garage. So you call them up and you say to them, hello, Mrs. Buyer. Yeah, this is a beautiful house. Love the curb appeal. I see why you're interested in it. But it's missing one of your must-haves. It only has a 2-car garage. Oh, really? Oh, but I really want to see it. It's just really awesome. And I just love it. And I'm dying to see it. Okay, that's not a problem. But let me ask you a question. Can we now take a 3-car garage off of your must-have and I can change your search category that we can start, considering other homes that are on the market that have 2-car garages. Notice I'm being quiet. Let them stew on it for a minute. A lot of times it's the wives. Sorry, don't mean to be sexist, but it's more the woman. Sometimes it's pretty and frou-frou and she wants to see it, and the husband really wants the 3-car garage. But when you take it away, the reality hits in. Because you don't want to go out and waste your time to go show a house that's a 2-bedroom that they're not going to buy. And you're really setting them up for failure when you start showing them things that aren't in their must-haves. So it's a really good example to use. And I actually had this happen. And, Tammy said to me, oh, yeah, you're right. We really do need that 3-car garage. But she's like, oh, this house is just really awesome. Tammy, I know it is. It is great. But you know what? We're going to find your great house with that 3-car garage. And now I'm done. I don't have to go out and show this house that isn't going to work for them. All right. That help everybody understand how to handle those phone calls of, oh my gosh, I want to see this house. Who here has had that happen to them before? I see hands. It is so true. But I'll tell you what, as soon as you start taking it away from them, and they'll change real quick. But you're doing what's in their best interest, because sometimes then it's really hard to get to the next house. Okay, love technical challenges. My screen's not changing. Okay, bear with me 1 second, guys.
You're all good.
I am gonna just move on and pray for it to work another way. All right, so be sure to dig deep. What about that big backyard is important to you? What about a big master bedroom is important to you? Start talking about furniture accommodations. Maybe it's somebody that likes to have fitness equipment in their bedroom as well. And that's why that room is so important in the size, and then what size is their furniture? What furniture do they have? What size television do they have? You've got to really dig in. I just recently sold a home to somebody, and the master bedroom was very, very important because she wanted to be able to have a queen size bed, but she also wanted to have a hospital bed for her husband because of some of the challenges that he's got. And she really wants them to be in the same room together. So guess what? That's a super important reason for that to be high up on the must-have list. So that's why it's so important to say, what about blank is important to you? You've got to understand more about that so that you can be there to service them. All right, this is my favorite part. 5 must-haves. Now understand, you guys, 5 is not written in stone. It can be 4 must-haves. It could be 6 must-haves. But find out what their must-haves are. What are their deal breakers? Now remember when we were talking about setting expectations? Our communication and our expectations are so important for us as realtors in building our relationship with somebody to understand something. There is no such thing as 100% house. And I always joke with everybody and I tell them I have built 2 custom houses and I haven't even made it to 80% because I run out of money every time. So you gotta get them to understand that, when we find a house that has your 5 must-haves, that is a 90 to 95% house. That's when we know that we are getting somewhere. And we're going to talk about scaling that I learned several years ago that works amazing for me. It's how I show homes. So what are your 5 must-haves and your deal breakers? So this is when you dig in. 4-bedroom. Is it a 3-bedroom with a den or a bonus room, or is it really a 4-bedroom with an office or a den or a bonus room? So dig in, know what your buyer's must-haves are. All right, so now you're going to educate your buyer about the showing process. Who here has a process that they go through with their buyers and explain how things are going to go? Please share.
Not as structured as yours. I'm waiting to get this.
Okay.
This is awesome. Thank you.
All right. How about you, Roger? Do you have a process?
I'm new to real estate. And by
Okay,
the
so
way,
you're
I
gonna
lived in
start
Orlando
small.
for quite a while.
All
And
right.
now in Virginia, I am working on a process. I do have I found a really good buyer's questionnaire from a breakthrough broker that I like.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use that, and it gives them some information about how the process goes for closing and buying and selling and everything. And
Okay.
it also has questionnaire for me, because I can't keep all this in my head, what the person wants in their must-haves. And I've been through that. Must have a 3-car garage, must have a 2-car. And my wife finds one that she likes that has no garage. And I go, ugh.
Exactly. And
Right?
you know, it's very important. Roger just hit a really good point. It's very important to make sure your buyer knows that you're taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
You are serious. You are interested. You are invested in helping them. You work for them. And I always tell my buyers, I work for you. But I'm going to guide you through this process to make sure that we're focusing on your must-haves and staying within your requested budget. It's never what a buyer can afford, because I'm going to tell you, probably about a good 95% of your buyers, they can afford a lot more than what they're purchasing at, but it's about their budget, and everything else is part of their financial plan and their, you know, their structure. So it's about their budget and respecting their budget. I have had so many buyers say to me, you know, I've had a realtor and they just kept showing me stuff that was so much more than what we wanted. And they kept showing us things that weren't what we were asking for. So ding, ding, ding. They didn't do a good buyer consultation. They were not invested in this buyer and their interest, because it's about them. It is not about us. And it's not about us walking into a house and going, oh my God, that kitchen's horrible. So that's up to them if it's horrible or not up to us. We never insult anything in a house, because I've had buyers that absolutely love crazy eccentric stuff that maybe not have been my personal preference, but they love it. And I appreciate it because they love it and it's important to them. So always keep that in mind. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we are going to look at 6 to 8 homes today. And this may change, guys. This is just a scenario I created. After we view each home, I'll ask you to rate the home from 1 to 10. If the home is rated below a 10, I will ask you what would make it a 10. We will continue this process, eliminating homes that rank lower than the next. So usually we start with number 1 and I say, okay, I don't want you to rank it, but I want you to think about it. Let's go look at number 2. And then I'll say, okay, now we've looked at number 2. It has all your must-haves, rank number 2. And they'll say, a 6. Okay, now I want you to go back and I want you to rate number 1. Oh, really like that. We're going to rate that an 8. Okay, so now we're focusing on house number 1 and we're eliminating house number 2. I used to print out the customer synopsis. I no longer do that. I do everything electronically, but you guys do what works for you in your business. I literally would take it and crumble it into a ball and throw it in the back seat of my car, because we'd be standing outside at that point. And it was kind of a process that I did that, okay, guys, it's gone. Bye-bye. No more. We're focusing on house number 1. Number 2 is gone. So you've got to take them through that, especially if you're showing them more than a few homes. It gets so confusing to them. So as we view homes, there are 2 things that I want you to keep in mind. The 100% house does not exist. You've got to reiterate it to them. A 90 to 95% house is really a 100% house with a 9 or 9.5 rating. Always keep your must-haves in mind. So this is my process, and personally, I think it works fabulous. I love it. You know, sometimes depending on the buyer, you may be a little bit more strict or a little bit more loose about it, because sometimes when you're with a buyer for the first time, they're trying to figure out what they like. They know some of their must-haves, but sometimes you've got to show some homes for them to be able to develop it. maybe when they're first time home buyers or when they're buying in a different scenario. I have been seeing a lot of buyers now that are buying multi-generational homes where they've got the mom and dad, or they've got, you know, different siblings. I've got a brother and sister right now that are buying a house together. And, you know, things are changing and they're different. So they kind of have to feel it out a little bit too before they can really grow into what it is that's going to work for them. So always keep that in mind as well. But it's going to give you a really good chance when you're rating them for them to say, oh, we just can't stand that kitchen. Oh, this just doesn't feel right. Do you know I had a buyer that it took us about the 4th or 5th house, because I have a tendency to sit down with buyers in living rooms in different areas to chat with them for a minute. Sat down with the buyer, and about a couple minutes in, her husband came through the front door because he was out walking the perimeter of the property. And she goes, oh my gosh, I figured out what I don't like and what has not felt right. I'm like, what? She goes, I don't want a family room where they can see me when they walk through the front door. She has an older teenager that's bringing his buddies over. She doesn't want to be sitting there in her curlers in her robe. Not really, that everybody wears curlers now, but she wanted something that when her son came in the door, that they weren't focusing on her being in her PJs. I mean, it was brilliant, but sometimes they don't know. The other thing is, I am extremely passionate about it's how the house feels. Remember when I talked about layout and square footage? I ask everybody, how does this home feel? I also don't show homes by opening every single door and opening everything. I let them kind of roam and get a feel for the house, but I do point out things. If they're in the master bedroom and they bypass a really awesome linen closet, I'm going to pull them back and say, hey, did you check this linen closet out? It's got a ton of room. Hope you guys have a lot of towels. So you can really let them feel and get, you know, get their own experience without hovering over them, because they know how to open the door and know that this is a closet. So just make sure that you're aware of everything and you're looking so you can point out things that they may have possibly missed.
Gretchen,
Yes, ma'am.
touching on the must-have features and your scale program, because you taught me the scale program, which is genius, and the scale program works with so many different things. But sometimes the customer feels on the spot when you're first having a conversation, and they either can't think off the top of their head what their must-have features are, or maybe it's spur of the moment and they just don't articulate them as well. The scale question helps when you ask about the current property they live in. So if you say, share with me the details of your current property on a scale of 1 to 10, and they say, oh, it's a 6, and you say, well, what would it take to get it to a 9 or a 10? You're going to uncover a motivating fact or two, which then turns into a must-have.
And you know what, Renee, that's a really good point. I should add this into the slide presentation, because on people that I, you know, buyers that I work with that have owned prior homes, I spend a bit of time talking about what they liked about that home and what they didn't like about that home, because that really does drive them to what they're looking for. And it also, you've got people that have children, and maybe now they're looking and the children are older. So now wanting them right next to them has now changed. Now they want them as far away as possible because they're, you know, they're moody and annoying. So, you know, Catherine's like, yeah, that's kind of me. I wanted her away. So that is so incredibly dead on, Renee, dead on. That was a great. And if you guys have any suggestions or stuff, bring them out here, because this is constantly growing and developing as I do these classes.
I have a question,
Yes.
Gretchen. And so I love this. This is super useful, and I'm excited because I'm going on showings this afternoon with a buyer that I haven't actually met yet. So I'm going to take a lot of this and run with it. One thing that's a little bit different though, and I think I I already have some ideas about how to modify. I'm working with a lot of investors and people that want to buy vacation homes.
Mhm.
And maybe it's, especially if they're not going to use it that much, it's less of an emotional decision, right? So it still is to some degree, but and given, you know, the price point of some of these places and the kind of seller's market that we're in right now, what would you recommend doing? I'm not sure I want to narrow their focus on only the highest rating one, because they might not be able to get that one and they want to get something.
Well,
So what would you suggest there?
one of the things that I do with investors is I find out what is more important, the unit or the home or whatever for their own personal family use, or strictly on focusing on the investment and the rentability to accommodating renters. And you will find that it's different. I've had people that very much it's about when they get to use it, when their family gets to use it, but they want to pick up some, you know, investment revenue from renters to be able to fill in and help cover the expenses. Then you get somebody that is strictly 100% investment. And that's when you got to kind of change a little bit. And, you know, you can still use the rating system because they also still have to like it and feel good about it. But it's all going to come down sometimes to the price, the location, and the rentability. So, you know, sometimes they'll say, well, I want a 2 or 3 bedroom. You've got to understand from them, you know, why the difference of the 2 to 3 bedroom, but it also can be driven on price. Some
Can I
communities,
piggyback on you too, Gretchen?
absolutely.
Catherine, because I actually know who you're going out with today, and I know it's an investor who's looking at a second home that's short-term rental community. That means that the family can rent it out on an Airbnb situation. We're going to take a pretty deep dive into that in our short-term rental class that Jeff is hosting on Tuesday. But I will say this is, as it relates, and Lisa's in a bit of a vacation home market too. I'm curious what her thoughts are, but as it relates to second home buyers in Orlando that are going to rent it out short-term basis, there are some key drivers to the success of their higher probability of rentability, and that is distance from Walt Disney World. We want to be as close as possible. Ideally, 4 to 7 miles is that sweet spot. Some of it is starting to venture out into the 10 miles, but the further you get from Disney, the less likely your rentability is going to be at a higher level. What on-site amenities the community offers, the more on-site amenities that replicates that resort feel, the more likely their rentability is going to be higher. And then they're going to want to know the things that are going into the financial segment, which is, well, what is the nightly rates that they're pulling in? And that's a financial conversation. But ultimately, for those who are seeking to rent it out short term, you got to uncover how many times they're going to use it in a year. And then you also have to dig into, okay, if you're looking to maximize your rental potential, there are ingredients into that recipe to maximize your success at that. And it's a lot deeper than that, but that's the top level.
Yeah. And assuming that, you know, and I was going in with the assumption of you already doing that and then narrowing down the homes that are possible contenders, you know, again, some of it depends on what they like. And some of it is 100% financial. So it's a bit of a different beast. I think that a buyer consultation for an investor obviously looks different than this residential presentation. So, and when we're working with that, that's when, you know, I rely on Jeff and Renee with the team that we're all on, the Fund Collection, to going into that more detail. Does that help?
Definitely. And there's so much goodness in this that applies to everything. So
The
I love it. Thank you.
Different, very different. You know, maybe at some point, Renee and I can actually build a buyer consultation of working with an investor, because I think that a lot of this does apply, but there's also a whole lot of other things, but it's also going to depend on the market that you're in.
Yep.
You know, so many of us here are in that sandbox of Disney. And Renee's so right. It's about location and amenities. Boom, period. So, okay. Where was I? All right. What I ask of my buyers. I go through this with my buyers. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I try to set expectations up to, every once in a while you're going to have a buyer that you may do a little bit different with. But when you've got somebody that you don't really know that well, and even sometimes people that you do know well, you've got to go through some of this. So if your wants, needs, or financial situation changes, let me know. If you are interested in new construction, call me before you tour the model. There is a good chance that I have worked with a builder before and know of special offers being offered to buyers working with agents. If you see a for sale by owner, FSBO, call me first with the address. There is a good chance that I've already toured the home and I can negotiate on your behalf. Let me know if you plan to go to an open house so I can help you if you see anything you like. And, be as loyal to me as I am to you. When I provide excellent service, please refer me to your friends and family. Again, you're plugging again for them to refer you. Because once you close them, then you're going to start your 33 touch program to make sure you're constantly staying in touch with them. And that's a whole nother class. So it's very important that you have conversations with them. I've got a buyer that I've been working with for several months, and she called me and goes, guess what? I'm up for a promotion. I might be able to spend more. I'm like, yay. So sometimes their goals change. I had somebody call me the other day and go, oh my gosh, we drove through an area of Independence and we just fell in love with it. We've decided that's where we want to be. But who do they think of to call first? Me. So you want to build that relationship with them that they're like, oh, I got to call my realtor. I got to call them right away. All right. Ask your buyers, how do you prefer to be communicated with? Talk about when you are available to them. Set the expectations up front. If you've got little ones and, you've got to do dinner and homework and things of that nature, you need to communicate your availability. And, if they call you at 11 o'clock at night, are you going to pick up that phone just because you're awake? So think about that. Set the expectation so that make sure that you're not under delivering what they're expecting from you. All right. So what I want to talk about briefly here is a buyer broker's agreement. It exists within our real estate world. I personally do not use one. I have pulled it out one time when it was necessary with a buyer that was kind of swirling out there and they wanted a lot from me. And I wanted a written commitment from them that they were going to stay with me. So it's very important that if you're going to use one, typically you're consistent with it because we don't want to have the perception of discriminating and choosing who you're using it with. But sometimes you have to use it. I used to have a whole presentation on scripts and everything of how to present them. I no longer do because I have found that most agents aren't interested in using it. So I would say that if you've got questions about it, this is a great opportunity to bring it up. I just didn't want to waste your time going through the whole process if nobody was interested in it. Do I have anybody interested in a buyer broker agreement? Or do I have anybody here that has no idea what I'm talking about?
I got a situation. I'm sorry. I got a situation where I'm working with a FSBO. He's got a beautiful piece of property, and it's in the 550 area worth, and he's he's considering working with me, and commission is a big deal. But not only is he selling this, he's thinking about buying another property, and I thought that if I drop my commission, if he guaranteed me that he would buy with me.
Okay.
Is that some place where you would use that, where you'd kind of lock them in that way?
I have seen agents do that. Let me ask you, are you going to list the property or are you going to do a commission agreement with the buyer, with the seller to bring a buyer?
Only listings with FSBOs for me.
Okay. All right. So, that is a really good opportunity that you could use that and say, I'll agree to drop the commission to 5% per se. What you choose to put your commission at, that's between you and your broker. But, that you make an agreement and then do a commitment on buying. I think that's a perfect opportunity too, because I've seen a lot of agents that will discount the listing side. Just make sure that you're cognitive of what you're offering to that buyer's agent, so that you make sure that you're not discouraging them from wanting to show the property if you drop the commission so low.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I thought we were supposed to have a broker's agreement. At least maybe in Virginia we have to, but
Yeah, and I don't know. I know title stuff in Virginia from being on the title side as a regional VP, but I don't know your contract law there.
yeah, well, it's not contract. I think it's our broker
Okay.
to have.
Very possible. Very possible. And one of the scripts that I've used for it is I say to somebody, this is an agreement that we're going to agree to work together. So it's kind of like dating. We're going to do a written agreement that we're agreeing to date. We're not getting married, but we're agreeing to date. So if for some reason that I am not offering you awesome service and you say, this really isn't working, you're just not doing what I need you to do, I am happy to rip it up and I can refer you to another agent, or you can find another agent. But for the time being, while we're choosing to work together and date, we're going to put this in place. That's one of my scripts. So, and
that analogy's out there quite a bit. Yeah. We're just going to date exclusively.
Okay. Yeah, you're dating exclusively. Exactly.
Right.
Yes, Renee?
I was just going to add, it is such a personal decision, and it can clearly be dependent on your region as well. In Florida, it is up to the agent to decide if they're going to present it and if they're going to try to get it signed. In our business, in my case, I don't think I've ever used one, period. Not saying that it's right or wrong. I would love if the industry as a whole would just say everybody uses it, because if we would all hop on board, well, wouldn't that just shift our industry incredibly? However, in the climate that we do have in our industry, my opinion has always been such that it's our role to earn the relationship of the customer. And from the moment that an online lead registers, or the moment that I meet a new sphere of influence, or the moment that I meet any opportunity for a relationship, my mindset is 100% focused on what can I do to come from contribution and earn the relationship. And I want to work with people who want to work with me. And I'm not offended if they don't want to work with me, because there's a ton of business out there. Like even in this room right now, like, we're not in competition with anyone in this room. We're in competition with one person, ourselves. And so I've just always looked at it. That's how I've navigated it. Right, wrong, doesn't matter. That's my opinion on how we built our business. I do wish everyone could get it signed. But if you go in the mindset of these are relationships, we're going to do our darndest to earn it in the highest way possible, it just kind of shifts the way you look at things.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I will add to this, and depending on where you're at, where I'm located at, we have a lot of new construction. And there are a few, Roger does too, there are a few communities that if we don't walk in with them, they're not going to include us. So I always tell my buyers, if you want to go see new construction, I do have an advantage right now, and that is COVID, that I tell them that, we have to set up appointments, but I am happy to take them out to any new construction community, that it is very good to have representation and somebody that's looking out for their interest with the builder, that the reps and the builder reps that are in the models work for the builder. They don't work specifically for you. So I kind of educate them on that a bit, and then I'll get those appointments set up for you. I'll take care of everything, and we'll just, we'll go out and we'll look at all these different communities. I can set everything up because I know how much time it typically takes at each one. So you're taking work off of their plate. You're, you're setting the appointments. So I would highly recommend going into a little bit more detail if that's something in your area. All right, let's move on to
I
the
need to speak to the builders. Some builders here will not pay a realtor, and some builders here will only pay you once, and they'll pay you 2% on the
wow,
buying side, and
tough market.
that's only in one year. So you could bring 50 people out there, they'll pay you 2% for the first buyer.
Boy, that really encourages you to miss that community and go next door, huh?
Yeah, that's one builder here. I haven't talked to all of them. I found another one that he actually reached out to me, and it was pretty good because my nephew works for them in Minnesota. I don't know how he got my name, but it was ironic that he called me. And
Really?
he says, we love our realtors. Come up and look at our place and let's talk. And he's like, you buy the first 3 houses, first 3 people you bring to me that buy, I'll give you 3. You bring me the 4th one and the 5th one, I'll give you 4. You bring me another one, I'll give you 5.
Awesome. Yeah,
So that's in each year. So if you bring him more than 5, you're getting 5% on every house.
that's awesome. Love hearing that.
So he's real good. Some of the other builders, I'm getting around to all of them, trying to talk to them and see how they
That's
are.
part of your due diligence as a new agent. Get out there and look at homes. Good job, Roger.
Thanks.
Okay, guys, showing day. If your area offers a showing time app in your MLS system, I highly recommend it. It helps you to map out your process. You also have, in our area, we have an app and we have it online with our MLS that when you're pulling up the listing that you're going to show, you can put it into that showing time and map everything out and do the order. It's a great tool. So if you have that in your area, I highly recommend that you use it. Provide a folder. If you use, customer synopsises, you actually use paper. I would put those in there. I'm really big on, I send the customer synopsis to them via text message, and I have the broker synopsis on my phone via text message so I can pull them up. But you're going to figure out what works best for you in your business. It doesn't hurt if you're meeting with somebody new to have your bio. If you're with eXp Realty, we have a home buyer process roadmap. Even if somebody is a investor or if somebody is a repeat buyer, sometimes the processes have changed. Sometimes the processes are very different in your state versus other states. Home warranty information. Those are good things to put into that folder. So you'll put things in there based upon your business, your brokerage, and your area that work best for you. I can only refer to my brokerage and what works best for us. The day of showing, please dress professionally. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe how some people show up with their buyers. And I don't care if it's their best friend. Present yourself in a professional manner. Wear your name badge. You guys, this is some of the best business that you can get. I just took my sweater off because I was hot. But wear your name badge. Bring extra business cards with you. Throw them in your pocket so you can leave them. Clean your car. Can you tell I'm talking from experience? Now, I do something that I have never seen anybody else do, and I hope that it becomes a trend, but I pack a small cooler for my buyers. And I started doing it a few years ago, and I pack it based upon how many houses we're looking at. If I know that they've got their kids with them, that picture there was with a mom, a dad, and 2 teenagers. So I loaded that thing up to the max to keep those teenagers happy so they didn't get us off track of wanting to hit McDonald's. So you want to keep those parents happy, focused. They don't want to get hungry because then they start getting grumpy. The only thing I can't bring them is Starbucks. We had to do some Starbucks runs for some of my buyers. And sometimes if they've got small children, I hit the dollar store and I get packed toys to give them. And I give them to them in the house so that they've got something to keep them occupied to help keep everybody focused. And I put an ice pack in with it as well. I'm really big on those cheese and cracker packs and Lunchables.
Hey, Gretchen.
Yes, ma'am.
An important question to remember when you're scheduling your showings is to ask your customer who will be joining us for our showings today.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I guess I didn't come out and say that, but I do. I find out who's going to be with them.
I know you do. I'm just piggybacking on all your awesomeness because that's how you find out how to pack that awesome cooler.
Well, I mean, I had one of my buyers call me and say, all right, my sister and brother-in-law decided to go in on an investment property. So they're going to be with us. So I packed 2 coolers that day. So you kind of find out, you know, what works.
You know that area when you first go into Target, it's like the value area where they have all different knickknacks and things for a couple dollars, maybe $5. If you ever go to Target, 100% of the time, walk through it, never skip it, because you find some little things for kiddos there that you just keep in your trunk in general. One of my favorite scores to find is and these are a little bit of a higher price point, so you gotta wait until they're on sale, but you know those no mess markers that like you color on the specific paper, it's a Crayola, and no matter what the marker touches, it won't affect anything other than that paper. When you see those on sale at Target, or if you ever see them at the dollar store, sometimes they're at $5 below, pick up like 10 of them and keep them, because when you have an unexpected kiddo that comes to showings and you get to pull out this little surprise magical moment, it changes everything and the parents fall even more in love with you.
So true. I've even packed, I've had people that have, I don't know why, I always have little boys. I pack them sometimes their own little cute cooler thing for them with all their own little snacks in it. And then if I'm multiple times going out, I find out what the teenagers like or the parents like. I know who likes goldfish. I mean, I still remember some of this stuff from the kids, what they like, but I always try to accommodate them and make them happy. This is my information. You are welcome to call me, email me, reach out anytime. I am an active producing agent now, full-time. I'm not coaching full-time, but I'm always here to help. Also, next class, one of my favorite, and that is the disc profile class. I am such a big disc fanatic. This is my favorite topic to teach. We're going to be coming back to you on Thursday, January 7th at 11 a.m. So check out Facebook.
I dropped the link in chat. And then also, I think, was it Mark asked, will this recording be available? Yes, it will. It will be posted across social media, and you will also receive an email with the recording for it, those who attended.
Thank you so much.
Share it with your friends. I mean, I've got, as new agents, some of my mentees weren't here today. So I'll be nailing them down to make sure that they watch this, because I think that this is such an important class, and it's the foundation of building your business, because most agents start working with buyers first. We are going to be, as the series continues, we're going to be doing some listing classes as well. Renee is reviewing a couple of my class materials so we can collaborate about what we think is best to present, because I'm kind of narrowing it down a little bit and focusing on the highlights. So keep an eye out. We're going to be continuing this throughout 2021. We hope that you all can join and bring your friends.
Thank you so
Gretchen,
much.
you're amazing.
So much. It was awesome.
Rock star.
Awesome.
Gretchen, can I just add something here real quick?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I think that this is also something to go ahead and ask a potential buyer as well. Last Sunday, I had a tremendous buyer's consultation and asked all the questions. I did forget to ask if they had any fur babies. I will remember that going forward. But my big question was, what is your timeline? When do you want to be in the property by?
Yeah.
What time? What do we have to work with here?
Yeah, and usually when you're setting an appointment with them, you've got a pretty good idea of their flexibility.
Hey, Ryan Hartman here with Inside Real Estate. I recently did a webinar about a 7-day conversation.
Wow, surprise! When you're talking to somebody also about, if they've started a conversation with a lender, you know, you're also finding out if they have a home to sell first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't have that in here. I guess my brain kind of goes past that. You know, you got to know, you know, when they're looking. You know, I ask people too, you know, they want to go look, and I say, well, what happens if we find the perfect home? Are you ready to put in an offer? I go through with them, you know, based upon today's lending environment, you know, 30, 45 days. You know, it used to be dead on 30 days, but sometimes people are a little bit more apt to being flexible to 45 days right now because of the COVID situation.
Right.
So, you know, you kind of create it based upon what's going on in the world. Seller's market, buyer's market. I mean, it's like I said, the wild, wild west right now. I mean, I had a family that we lost 3 houses, and it took, oh my gosh, like an act of Congress just to get the 4th one under contract. It's just, it's hard right now.
Jeff, Allison, I think that's a great question. One thing that we've spent a lot of time focusing on is taking the word timeline out of the question. We found as a team that our engagement and the information we receive when we ask it goes a lot further, because our assessment of the word timeline as a realtor and a professional in the industry, we can decipher what that means, but as a consumer, they don't really understand. And it's a bit of a subjective question, because it's like saying, well, do you want a big home or a small home? It's critical to ask questions that will uncover what the true timeline are, such as what Gretchen was saying is, are they considering new construction? Well, that's going to change their timeline. Is that new construction, is it dependent on pricing? Where in Orlando, if they're looking at a custom home, maybe they're buying a $2 million home that's a custom home, that timeline is way further out, right? A custom home is going to take a solid 12 months plus. Track home builder, something like that. You need to start looking 6, 8, 9 months prior. The other, and this is a critical question we love on our team that we ask as it relates to timeline. Remember Catherine and Gretchen scripting about the backyard and, well, tell me what you see in your backyard and what do you want to do in your backyard? And Catherine said, well, I have a dog and my kids are going to spend time out there. I understand that we don't want to go right to like, what are your kids' age? I get that. But it is important to ask, well, what are your kiddos' names? I always ask the kiddos' names, because that's going to help you build more of a rapport with them. And then say, well, what school grades are they going into next year? You can ask about the school, because you need to know if schools are important to them. Now, ask about the timeline without using the word timeline. Well, Mr. Buyer, if we're looking at Bobby and Susie's school year, do you envision Bobby and Susie in their new school for next August? Or are you thinking about pulling them out and doing a transition mid-year this school year, like January or February? Where do you envision the kiddos with school? Bingo, that's gold right there for a timeline.
Okay.
The other thing is too, when you have somebody
that going forward
has a lease up, when somebody's got a lease up, Renee will tell you, I am on it to get them in a new construction and get them under contract now. So I will be like, let's go look at new construction. That's perfect. So that way you've got them committed, you've got them under contract. So that's my big focus when it's some months off.
Gretchen's awesome at that. I think you've had like 3 in the last couple months that were saying we're going to buy in 8 months, and you have them under contract currently. When someone is currently renting, you have to ask the question, when is your lease ending? That's question number 1. Second question is, what are the terms on your lease? Do you have a 30-day out? Some leases are drafted, and remember, they may have already committed and fulfilled a 12-month lease. Here in Orlando, it's very common to have a 12-month lease, and then oftentimes what landlords might offer is to say, I'll just sign another lease, but I'll give you, it's a 30-day to 30-day, because you satisfied the first 12 months. So they might have next to no commitment to that lease, but it's important to say to them, like, hey, let's pull up that lease and just make sure we fully understand, because there's some really interesting opportunities in the marketplace right now, especially with new construction. If it's possible and you want to see yourself in that dream home now, let's start looking and exploring the options.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I got to go. I got a closing at 12:30, so I got to get moving here. So thank you so much for coming and participating today. Really appreciate you all and all the extra collaboration. Some great points were brought up to add to this today.
Thank you.
Different.
Great,
Awesome.
great
Happy
sense.
Thank
holidays
you.
Have a great day. Bye.
in January.